head of the electrical division of the institution. We are fortunate to have some of our senior past presidents with us. I will introduce them at some point this evening. But shall we begin with a prayer, please? Father, I want to thank you so much for this evening and the wonderful opportunity to be here. We pray for wisdom, direction. We pray for insight for our speaker, for all that we're going to do here and there, which we bring with you. Says amen.
Amen.
Yes, thank you very much for being with us this evening. And this evening's program is actually a hybrid session. So we have a number of people online. And it looks like lots of our members are getting too used to the virtual programming that we've been doing. So we have more than 55 people online, and I think there are more yet to join. And we expect them to add on to the numbers for this evening. So whilst we are here, I believe that we will have full benefit of this evening's program. And in the end, we will go out having learned so much, because we are lucky or blessed to have with us this evening a man that I personally say is of many parts. He's of many parts, and he's one that exemplifies the versatility of the engineer in our practice. So without much ado, I would speak a little about our speaker for this evening. He is Engineer Eric Insako. Sorry, please, with the hand. Eric is the head of the Stanbic Bank Ghana Limited engineering team. He oversees the digital strategy of the bank and has responsibilities that span real estate, partnership, IT, security, banking, operations, and technology. Before entering banking, Eric served as the head of sales and distribution at MTN Ghana. He led the process of creating today's mobile money ecosystem and growing usage from marginal levels of the pervasive levels that are evident today. As head of sales and distribution, he grew a deep commercial talent base and enabled the digital vision. The business offerings stretch from predominantly voice to data, digital content, and fintech. He was also MTN's first head of enterprise business. In that role, he launched many innovative offerings, such as cloud services, hosting, and the Internet of Things. Eric has worked extensively in the telecom sector. He was Chief Information Officer of Airtel and Tigo, respectively. In those roles, he trained a wide talent base of professionals who are spread across industries in Ghana today. His interest in training also led him to lecturing roles with the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration and Ashesi University in that period. Prior to telecommunications, Eric spent nearly a decade in the fast-moving consumer goods industry. He had various roles within British American Tobacco, both as a sales manager and business systems manager. He also worked as Chief Information Officer of Ghana Breweries, owned by Heineken International at the time. He spent 5 years working at the group head office of Heineken in the Netherlands. He had responsibilities for IT projects in Africa that spanned customer relationship management, enterprise resources planning, and the breakthrough paradigms at the time. He also worked in IT audits. Eric's early career was in KPMG and Pricewaterhouse, where he worked as a management consultant. He also worked in pure chemical engineering roles soon after graduation. He worked initially as a process engineer for the Volta Aluminium Company and later as a nuclear reactor engineer at the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. He holds a BSc Honors in chemical engineering from the University of Science and Technology in Ghana and an MBA, Management Information Systems option from the, I guess it's Brugge Universitat Brussels. Free University of Brussels. That's the English version. And in Brussels, Belgium, he has 2 daughters. So, as I mentioned, this quick read that I've done speaks of the man. He started off as a chemical engineer, and today he's going to speak largely electrical engineering or electronics and the like. And that's what I meant by saying that he's a versatile person. He's been in marketing, sales, and all very interesting roles that he's done throughout his career. Tonight, he's going to speak to us mainly on scaling digital partnership for mature governance. This is part of the series, to engender engineering innovation amongst us, and he been at the forefront of the digital growth in Ghana. We thought that he would be a good partner to speak to us. So, Eric, we are very glad that you took this invitation to come and talk to us. Tonight, we are grateful to have you and ready to hear what you have for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Roberts. I know I'm an old man now because even Engineer Roberts was behind me. Yes. Even Michael Dede was behind me as well. But sometimes gratitude must be given. When I joined Stanbic Bank as head of engineering, there were many disasters, and we had to deal with them. I made a call to Engineer Roberts and I said, I'm seeing some power issues that I've never seen in my life. And he came at 12 midnight and we spent the night in the data center. So that is inspiration to Engineer Michael Dede, who has not yet done some favors. But that's not entirely true, because for me to be called a member of the institution today is because of Michael Dede and, of course, Engineer Aye. But it's a rare privilege to see 2 immediate past presidents of the Ghana Institution of Engineers. As a student, this was my dream. To one day see people like Andrew Quayson or Ayibo Tele, or some of those names that were famous in engineering. I remember sitting over here and seeing Asafu Baji walking in with full brass band and all that. And I remember that as a KPMG consultant, my boss sent me to Asafu Baji and said we should do a joint proposal to the Highway Authority. When I went into his reception, he was standing there and, with the blazer with the Rotary Club pin here and all that. And, we stood back because he could not approach His Highness in that obscene way. But some people from Europe or somewhere came. And, they got to the reception, they had the receptionist, we are here to see Asafu Baji. And Asafu Baji said, come. Then they said, yes, we were here to see, and he said, I am Asafu Baji. And immediately they stepped back. Then he called us and he said, see me before these people. So, we have been socialized by the great and mighty, because, those names are names that day he told me to tell my boss that no government has ever liked him, but no donor has ever forsaken him. So when they bid for the highway job, they should know that they will not get political support. But nobody will fund it unless he's on the short list. So those things taught us a bit about professional confidence. And today we are here. And we have to acknowledge those who are here, like Engineer Pamela. She's a very, very rebellious engineer, but she's here with us today. And the colleagues from Stanbic Bank and Araba, the friends, Jody Graft, he's a solid guy, Livingston House. But, over there, we didn't have these reactions that calcium carbide plus water. That's Michael Dede, Katanga Bombardier. But the task is big, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big one. I was just saying that for me to get here as a software engineer has taken a lot of doing, because they want to take me back to chemical engineering. They want me to go back to the momentum transfer and heat transfer and the mass transfer and these kinds of things, diffusion and so on. But I am resisting it at all costs, because the things that we have to integrate now are bigger than what we integrated in the past. One of the parts that I'm very proud of in my career, is when we put together the nuclear reactor. Because as for that one young man, when you say it in your career, people say, So find yourself a project like that, something that you just say to confuse the wild birds. And nuclear reactor was like, what I did there is not important. I had a rule, that's what matters. But, governance. This I did for the systems auditors. This was the presentation initially for the systems auditors. And I was telling them that, what are you auditing? You are always putting together controls and paralyzing the world. But at the end of the day, you need innovation, you need liberty to be able to free minds, to create stuff. So, when I was in KPMG, they did a project they called Audit 2000. They said if your client will not pay you for the audit, if it were not statutory, then you've done no work. Because most people are paying for audit today because it's by the law. So you must learn how to do the work and then add value to it. Then you can do something. So that's what I did for the systems audit and the pillars of the new economy. I think the battery has issues. Or you do it for me. The young man like automation. Or did I not do something like that? Okay. I think it's coming back. Yeah, it's coming back. I think this one we've been through. The most important line is this one. We've said many things, but you can do it for me. Please go to the next slide. So I spoke about the pillars of the new economy in terms of some of the things that we've neglected as a business, as a republic. Sorry, but the republic can also be looked at in terms of balance sheets and reports. But some of these things are, for example, content. Content opportunity is so big. Our heritage is not yet digitized. So when I was in MTN, I was sent to Asante Hene to go and give him 20,000 cedis. And that day, Joabe Hene took the mic and he said, I hope your tree is good. So I said, hey, I'm in serious trouble because the brand I'm representing does not merit 20,000 cedis. Because this is a traditional council that gives Asante Kotoko 1 million cedis at a time. So how do you donate 20,000 cedis to the Menchia Palace? It was a problem. But I sat down and I thought about the whole thing and I thought, where are we going to go to in Johannesburg that they will understand that they must approve 1 million cedis for this palace? Maybe they will not. So we came up with a raft of projects. And that was to put Wi-Fi in Menchia Palace, for example. The next time we went, I'll speak Twi and then I'll translate. But the next time we went, Tumfo said, and send the internet now. So the Wi-Fi was working. Sometimes you look at the report at MTN House and you see 45 people browsing at the same time. It was free, of course. But those were the conversations we had to have. Then he said to me, because that's the Kotoko training ground. So you know what I did? I know William Tete will be logged in somewhere, but he was head of capital projects for MTN. Tumfo was teeing off at his golf club. And I said, Nana, you turned around. And I said, Director, now, oh yeah, and he said, yeah, mami. So William Tete was committed immediately. And he said, hey, is that how you are, Eric? I said, if you don't build it, you must make your limit in Sao. Because if you cross the river Pra again, you will be in serious trouble with this man. So Atakuja Chair was also done. And then we created the Heritage App, which is to the issue I'm talking about, the content. Because all traditional artifacts, the pictures of Akwesi Dai, the Women Fairs festivals, the Dagbon festivals, and so on and so forth, they had to be digitized. And now the Heritage App has been created. Ayoba has 1.9 million subscribers. In it is the Heritage App. And we are saying that we need a national conversation around this. Because me, I sit here, my name is Eric Nsaku, that's it. Nothing else on YouTube. But it has 873 subscribers when I check this morning. If I get 1,000 subscribers, then I get a video, we can include just talking to you like this. And that video gets 1,000 views. Guess what? I'll get $1. At that point, I'll get $1 from Google. But it's free of charge. There would have been no effort made. I'll just be sitting down. When I sit in my house, I just tell people, hey, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And now I'm at 870. Gloria, where are you? So when you add 130, then I'm in the money zone. And then I start to do the videos. Look, when you sit with Michael Dede and he plays the cowboy tune, you will get 1,000 views, I'm telling you. So these are free opportunities. And you know that these Don Little and those little guys, you know, when you go to Nigeria, Makenjo comedy, what is he doing? Or Sabalo comedy? They sit down, but they get 1 million views. 1 million views is what? $1,000. And it's just a question of people going outside and doing some drama on the street. So we have neglected a lot of things on content. And on the more serious note, during the year of return, Bozoma St. John came to Ghana, Bozoma St. John. And she said to me at the time that she was the boss of Endeavor Corporation. And she could put the musicians on labels. They owned Motown Records and some of the more serious studios. And the publisher rights of songs, normally everywhere in the world, they pay more than the distribution rights. If Beyonce composes, she makes more than when she performs. But here, what do? I heard the other day, Camero was happy with the settlement of 50,000 CDs from a court case that had lasted 6 years. So a publisher and composition, you get nothing at all. And then you go to distribution and, I brought one of the big artists of the country. I said, let's try and put you on a label. He said, I'm doing a live event in Tamale, come and sponsor, that's more important. Well, later when I saw him at an event recently, he was playing very early in the evening. When you play at 6 o'clock, the children have not arrived. So it's a conversation we need to have because content is bigger than, when you look at AT&T offered $84 billion for Sony. Sony said no. These things are big conversations elsewhere in the world, but we joke with them because, as you know, we like comedy. Fintech, that's the jurisdiction after my own heart. People would want to label me, they would label me with fintech because mobile money, it came to me with certain statistics. 200,000 users per month, 2.9 billion CD transaction value per year. That's for number of agents, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000. I handed it over on 9th April 2021 to the principals. 200,000 had become 11.7 million. 2.9 billion had become, where did we end last year? 938 billion. And the number of agents had become 250,000. I always add to this that I listened to an interview of Jack Ma. They asked him, what do you think about Amazon? He said, Amazon, they are a company. Alibaba, we are an economy. The mobile money thing is an economy. It's not something comparable to what they do in other companies. Today I'm in the banking sector and I know the impact of what I'm talking about. But of course, it created a role for myself on the other side. At the age of 52, I prefer to be where they buy treasury bills and make profit than to be at, Seychelles looking for SIM card sales. So it works okay for me. But the pillars of the economy go on to networks. And these networks are the platforms. Uber is a platform, networks. You find that to some extent, Facebook, AT&T, Bell Mobility, these are all connectivity ecosystems. And we don't understand it. Today, what do we call MTN? Dominant player. So what is the solution to dominant player? Kill it? Or what? You can't kill it. Because when Donald Trump went after Jeff Bezos, nothing happened. Eventually, social things happened to him, but he became, first person in the world to be associated with $200 billion. So these things have to be developed. And these are ecosystems that will bring together the disciplines of the universe. So for the first time, the humanities are more important to me in the work I do than more engineers. Because today I was at the harbor for a long time. The guy who took me around, he has a master's in shipping and logistics. But when I knew him, he was a graphic artist. And the kinds of conversations we had today about why in a country like Ghana, you can end up with a situation where we have a harbor we call fishing harbor. We have terminals that are for refrigeration. But sometimes a car goes there and it's cleared from there. We don't transport cars in refrigerators. But somehow in Ghana, we are able to do it. So the technology that we need, we've been at it for a long time. 1996, I was part of BPEMS, Budget and Public Expenditure Monitoring System. 8 years later, I heard BPEMS was in pilot. I don't understand why we pilot anything for 7 years or 8 years. Today I hear GIFMIS. I hope it works, but I'm not, I'm not part of that ecosystem anymore. But networks are critical. Digital commerce is the future of the world. We saw it during COVID. When we started COVID, I used to do one call with MTN like this. I used to fry plantain with the other hand. And then I used to direct the virtual school of my children with my foot. But today we go on an app and you solve a lot of these problems. And you can even do the digital school also with more tools. When it came, Google Classroom was new. We all went through a very big learning curve. The world has changed, and it's changed forever. But Abossey-Okai must change. So when I speak about these things, then I have to speak about, Pamela, maybe because you are wearing the Brono top, you can stand up a bit. Just for 2 seconds. But you see the brand she's wearing. Pamela, you may be seated. But we are creating this platform so that we can put Abossey-Okai online. So that when you are sitting here, you can put a request in that you want a tire hub, and then it goes to Abossey-Okai. And the Abossey-Okai people will respond to you with the prices. And then you select which price you want. And when they bring it to you, pay to the app. When they bring it to you, they will get their settlement. And this was thought of in Abossey-Okai. As head of enterprise of MTN, I went to Cabot Enterprises and I said to him, I'll give you a free website. And he said, I don't want my prices online. I don't want competitors copying my prices. So we have to do this so that you can bid. This is how we buy things in Ghana. And you know the Ghana Union of Traders? Guta. Everybody must know Guta this week. Yeah. Because they are on air. They close the shops in KJT. But Guta is made up of 2.5 million members. And they estimate that the number of traders in Ghana is 7.5 million. The number of people on the voters register is 16 million. So the trader is everybody. And the households is, I think, 5.6 or 5 or 6 or something like that. So every household has more than one trader. And in reality, what we are doing is an ecosystem that is bigger than mobile money. But these are conversations that require all of us to be on board. I've sent these numbers to the University of Ghana, and I've told them, please contest my logic. But what I recall was that 938 billion cedis was the mobile money transaction value for last year. 5% of that was payments to merchants. So if I take it as 1 trillion, then the 5% was 50 billion. 0.2% was the revenue to MTN. And that might be in the region of 100 million cedis. But then it means that if you take the tax as 25%, then you allow for some expenses and say that this is 20 million cedis on a base of 200,000 merchants. So if I do this for you, Brono, as I'm saying, and I take 75% of the Guta members, which is 5 million people, then you can multiply the 20 million by a scale factor of 25 and you get 500 million. But at that point, you ask yourself, why 0.2%? Because mobile money that you know is 1%, right? So we put 0.2% there for a reason. But you can make it 1% and Ghanaians will not complain. Then you don't have the e-levy wahala. You don't have the IMF wahala. And that is 2.5 billion because you change 0.2 to 1, it's times 5. So the 500 million you got is now 2.5 billion. Then you ask yourself the question again, who is keeping the windfall? You just need a law. If you don't pass the law, the telco will keep it, of course. If you pass the law, they'll share it with you. So that can become 10 billion. What is that? $1 billion. That is the first tranche of the IMF. There are things we can do. But the university is telling me they'll come back to me. And now we are offering them payment in consultancy to be able to go into these things and research on them. Because it is a process of inquiry. Any of you ever heard of Kwame Gyekye, the late? I like his lectures because he always starts with philosophy begins in wonder. You must always wonder, and then you can answer. But anyway, digital commerce is very closely related to data analytics. Today, when I went to the port, I was telling Meridian Port Services that the analytics they are sitting on, if they anonymize it and they share it, this country will be different. Because they know everything that is coming in. Inside the containers, where it is going, how much the volume is. And these are the things that we used to do. When I was in MTN, I sat behind the analytics panel all the time. And that's why I knew that the people of Soweto were waking up. Those people sleep at 2 a.m. because they commute from some other market somewhere. They get back. That's when your child starts telling you, my pencil is broken, and so on. And so you have to set up a night market for them. And at 2 a.m. they'll sleep. But at 12 midday, you see that in the central business area, from Tetequashi Circle coming into towards the beach, 4 million people are present. But 2 a.m., they are left with 2.8 million. Then the other places are woken up. 2 a.m., everybody is asleep, the whole gang. But by 5 a.m., they're on the road. 4 a.m. maybe, they're on the road. You see, the analytics are showing it all. You know, and as a gentleman at the University of Ghana, you know what he's studying right now? He told me that he's looking at the night light. When you look at night light per constituency, you can size the economy local. Because these night markets I'm talking about tell you about some amount of modernity and congregation of people. So it's very important that these pillars of the economy we consider in our modeling, in our liberation from poverty, and so on and so forth, because our antecedents are holding us back. And we are a civilization that is not an irrelevant civilization. This morning, I was speaking with the head of the son of Odefo Boafonsa, the late. And he was tracing for me how the Dentra arrived and how the Guan arrived and how Asantis were formed and so on and so forth. And I said, but this thing is going right back to Kumbisa. It's going right back to Old Ghana, which is also linking to the Arabian Empire, which is linking them to the offshoots of the Ottomans and the Persians and the Romans and that whole trajectory. So we are not an irrelevant civilization, but somehow we prefer to be relevant. And that one I cannot solve. Oh, you've done it. So I spoke about this ahead of the time. But digital content, you saw that I went straight to heritage. Because heritage takes us no effort. It is what we do. My grandmother is involved. Ajwa Salome, she's involved. These things are not, literacy is not a requisite. We are already doing them. But video and so on, we are not big enough. And we have to make them big. You know, I saw the Attorney General, where I saw him against his private. But I said to him, Honorable, Law Reform Commission, so that we start to do the education. But ladies and gentlemen, it is way past time. Go and lobby a law reform commission. The bill must be in parliament. We must protect our content because our artists are not big enough. When I was in primary school, I was taught by McJordan Amati. McJordan, if he was alive, would be bigger than some of the people we call big today. You know, Genesis chapter X, I guess I'm talking about things that reveal my age. But those are the movies that they were making even then, The Boy Kumasin, and so on and so forth. And now we've gone on in years and we cannot even name our movies. Because, you know, what Kwanzaa did with heritage and so on and so forth with the, you know, Love Brewed in the African Pot and so on, we don't have those quality of scripts anymore. And what we are doing right now, you know, I don't want to name and shame, but like what we are doing is just trying to do naked comedy. And that's not right. So video is a huge opportunity, like I said. I mean, music, you know, over here we are in Ghana, so we are safe from American law. But I don't know about you, Mr. Butchie, but I don't know how Michael Jackson died. Because this guy took on Universal in public. He said, I will break the recording contract. I cannot be sued for my mortgage, and Universal is making billions on my name. So if they say they will not give me more money, then every concert I'm starting, I'll start an ode to Universal. And then they started to shake. Mysteriously after that, he died. Let's leave it there. But the music conversation is the same. What we are saying is that there's an agency, you know, again, I cannot name and shame, but there are some agencies around in the country, they are signing on these young artists and they are promising them, they are asking them to promise 5 years of their future work, 10 years of their future work. So you start, and when people say that Burna Boy has released in Nigeria, people log on to MTN to try to find it. Over here, you cannot do it. You know, and some of our people are now very big. Kinsakwa there played the Global Citizens thing. He played at 12 midnight. I'm very particular about when you play. Because he played after, I think he played just before season. And then soon after that, Usher Raymond came. When Usher Raymond arrived, my 14-year-old daughter, she said, let's go. Usher is your generation. We are done. So I said, fine. But those things are very important for me. What you do with your creative talent. And music, we are not doing enough. I'll go a bit quicker so that we can get some questions. The Zoom people can interact as well?
Yes, they can.
Okay. And as for gaming, I think we have not even started. Our understanding of gaming right now is to bet whether Manchester United will score Liverpool and so on. Those are not, I see some Man U people because he turned around. Liverpool, okay. But so we need to do some more creative things with gaming as well. Boss, could you flip it? You see, today I work in banking, like I said, and it is interesting that banks are seldom lending to anybody anymore. But the loan books of the telcos right now, you know, the lucky thing about the telco license, you don't do anything under your license, right? So Leshego and so on and so forth, they have partnerships with the telcos and they give you the quick loan. That's where the action is. Those are algorithms that are calculating your credit score in real time based on your usage of the airtime and your transactions on mobile money. That is the future of lending. Right? I don't want to belabor it too much, but it's the future of insurance and all of that. It's going to go online. And the sooner we go online, the better it is for everybody. So agency banking that we speak about, today you want to do agency banking, you have to apply to the government. The governor will look at your branches, you look at the software, the training you are doing, and so on and so forth. So what you are doing is banking, it's regular banking, but you're calling it agency banking. When I was at MTN, I had 242 agents who are authorized to do certain transactions on behalf of MTN. I didn't need anybody's clearance because I'm responsible for what they do. It's a bit different in banking. So the conversation here is that there has to be some distribution alignment now, synchronization between the banking ecosystem and the telecom ecosystem. And unfortunately, by telecom at the moment, I'm probably referring majority to MTN because you know, there are situations that we have to deal with. But under the circumstances, I think for agency banking, for digital lending, and for insurance brokerage, the future is in the street. The concentration risk that exists for dealing with mining companies and dealing with oil companies and dealing with cocoa, you know, do you know any of our people who is in the cocoa sector? You have to search for, you know, the problem is that we graduated almost 30 years ago, and we don't know our people to be there. And, you know, when all the engineers are not there, I don't know who's there. And that's the situation we are dealing with. You know, some of our people are in mining, yes, but how many? So the scalability of these units is in question. Whereas renewable energy and the internet and so on, you scale and you scale and you scale. The number of sessions that are on this laptop, nobody knows. But he could be doing a Zoom, he could be doing a YouTube, he could also be doing a chat. And that's the conversation that we need around banking and all of that. The banking scalability is in question. And at the moment, you know, the key lender, the key borrower was government. Government's capacity to borrow, we all know, they've reached their own limits. So what do you do going forward? No country is going to survive without the banking sector. You know? Where are you going to keep your money? And when America is in trouble, the conversation is between Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and some of the big units. They have to sit down and talk. As far as I know, I don't know everything, but as far as I know, I don't see many people who say they work in banking and they work in the research department. It's normally you see that Bloomberg has released a research report on Ghana. And Ghana banking sector is scrambling for it. Very pathetic. We have one more also. So the big data and analytics have already spoken about the opportunity. That if you are able to get even the addressing, see, I hope so far, I'm sure Mrs. Odronako will correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not spoken about anything concerning politics and so on. I hope. Because my aim in coming here was not to stoke any fires. But I heard about one project they call Ghana Card. Ghana card. And under the Ghana card, I get a bit confused about the lost opportunity on address, because the home addresses are not accurate. You know, God rest the soul of my brother Maxwell. We buried him in December, but where he lived, they even offered him to name the street after him. And I see that because of that, there's on the signboard, there's number 3. But there's also a GH something GPS address. And then there's also a 96 stroke something in Sawam Road. And then there's, you know, what are we doing? You know, these things are very simple in other jurisdictions. Name it. You know, the only problem was that areas with kiosks and so on, you needed to put a code. If I go and steal and I live by the railway line, if you're able to come within 1 meter square of where I am, they'll call me out. If you come Ghana police and you say, I have this picture of this guy, he lives in this area, they'll call you out. That's all we needed. We didn't have to add number 31 little icon to digital address. So anyway, I mean, KYC is an opportunity that other jurisdictions are thriving on. The parceling and so on, Trump's fights with Amazon. He was saying, you know, you are using the American Post data. How much are you sharing with us? And so on. But those are better conversations than we don't know where to find people. And analytics, I already spoke about the modeling of the telecom market and so on and so forth, modeling of container terminals and the data that you get out of that. And these are the things that we must be doing. And spending habits, you know, for us to know what to grow, what to aggregate and so on. You know, the agribusiness value chain is very important. Some of you have been to Sandema, Saboba, you've been to Gambaga, you've been to the places that I've been to. And you see the returns of millet farming. MEGA. If you've been to Nima, I know a lady there, when you see the list she wears, you understand what wealth is about. The gold in her teeth and so on. But she does millet. So I don't know how much she gives to the farmers over there. But I know how much she gets from the breweries and so on over here. And the aggregation is important. If I take that runner up there, I can say that I want millet. And somebody up there can go around and get the millet together and send it to me. They will give me the price that they want me to pay. Then you take out until it's you get it. But innovation is not something that we want to do, but we have to do it. The Internet of Things, we have to avoid this politics at all costs. I was going to talk about how to track fertilizer. But, you know, these things you need RFID codes and so on. You need asset tracking chips and so on in the whole thing. And you must not lose your fertilizer. You must not also lose your cocoa. You must not lose anything. You know, I was in Winchi once and I saw a lady, she was standing by a shed. And I said, what do you do here? And she said, Amajaro gives me money and I go and buy the cocoa and keep it in this shed. So the guy I was with, he said, hey, and when the network reaches the farm, this lady is gone because the farmers will bring it direct and they'll get their payment. And I said, yeah, but at the end of the day, when we disrupted the scratch card, I estimated that we had disrupted 40,000 people off the street. The guys who were chasing your cars and selling scratch cards. But we put 300,000 people into work in the what we call the transfer business. The one you sit under an umbrella and you send it to somebody who cannot do it because of literacy challenges. And then we put another 300,000 people to work in the mobile money ecosystem. So you take out 40,000, you gain 600,000, you're on the money. So the point was that the Internet of Things is the opportunity to take the internet into traffic lights, to take it into Galamsey, to take it into, you know, fertilizer tracking, to take it, to miniaturize the technology so that it can no longer be ignored. But we have a different agenda. When I'm summing up, I'll tell you a story about Silicon Valley. I already spoke about utilities and so on. So the Internet of Things is there. That's the last slide. Okay, so before the questions, I'll tell you what my summary is. In 2019, I went to Silicon Valley for the first time in my life. What I saw was on this side, I saw the Stanford University. And it has its own spokes into the networks of Caltech and UCLA and Berkeley and all that. The ecosystem of California universities. Then on this side, I saw Facebook at Menlo Park. I saw Google at Mountain View. I saw Apple at Cupertino. I saw incubators where the startups were being incubated. Then on this side, I saw the Sun Hill Road. That had all the financiers in the world. When I came back, I thought to myself, anybody who creates this triangle is going to create wealth forever. So I went to the University of Ghana and I saw my senior Padigo. At that time, he was Pro-Vice Chancellor. Francis Dodo, sorry, is the name, Francis Dodo. But we got a partnership going and we paid the Center for Social Policy Studies to research into the causal variables of mobile money and see how we got a widespread adoption across imams, across catechists, across sports coaches, across everybody. And then they passed the findings to the University of Ghana Business School to create training manuals so we could have a long tail. At a certain point in MTN, my people were everywhere from Afghanistan to Namibia to Sudan to Zambia to everywhere. And because we had promoted too many people, we needed to train another tail which could coincide and backfill. So this was the project that we put in place. And these things I'm doing for the banking and so on and so on. But you know, multinational corporation, you know, it's the same as the Roman Empire that crucified Jesus Christ. So on the incubation side, we said, fine, we would generate, you know, we called the interns together. We said, just write the name of everybody who does business in school. Some people brought us guys doing wigs, doing this, doing that, doing the barbers and all that. But we selected what became the partner for the mobile money marketplace, company called Courier Shops. Then we selected some music apps, Sario, and so on and so forth. And then the last thing was that we didn't have money. And the money part we were hoping we could solve by bringing together foundations and so on to start with development capital and then grow up. But in this exercise, we did not succeed. As in, I don't see an economy that we created. I see that we created initiatives. But what we said, one day we will get there. When you add to that, so this is what I consider to be the financial side, or the, let's say, the industrial side. When you add to that what I spoke about concerning the modeling for the revenue, to get more from the fintech revenue, and then you add to that social intervention tracking. We did that for President Kufuor. We put a system in the castle that tracked everything from health insurance to what do you call it? Food security to national health insurance and so on and so forth. When you put those three together, I think you are very close to getting a developed country. In addition to that, you need to put people who can put the manpower to do, you know, drainage systems and agroforestry systems and so on. So that's my take, and I think we need some questions if they are any. If they are not as well, then we can cover it.
Shall we do it once again? There's so much that we have learned this evening. We'll be taking questions from the floor, and I'll probably just ask one. In the midst of, I mean, when you spoke of the scratch cards, then it just came to mind, and then I got a picture when you would have all these boys running after you, and I was just thinking of the transitions that have happened from call centers and scratch cards, internet and cafes, and there's been that subtle, things just get out of the system without you even taking notice. And with voice and data and all that's happening there, what do you think are the next steps and the next levels that we should be looking at?
Thank you, boss. Look, to me, the scratch card was an aberration. Right? It was something that should have gone away the day it arrived, because of this scratch card, many people are dead, right? Like armed robbers and the insurance claims and so on. So in the league of the big innovations, I don't count it. But in terms of going forward, I think mobile money is done. But the things that I mentioned here, I believe, are the next. I think the next big things are content, fiber broadband, you know, e-commerce, And perhaps manpower, we need to get to a point where we speak in terms of the people we have instead of natural resource endowment. So I'll keep it simple. I think that those are, for me, the next frontiers that we have to pursue. Have we started? I don't think so.
We have a question also in the chat box, and it says, please, what do you think we can use ICT technology to solve distribution and revenue losses in the utility sector? And maybe as we deal with that, I think in talking, we also spoke of Galamsey. I don't know if you have any ideas how we can use technology to solve some of our issues in those areas as well.
So I heard the Galamsey, now I've even forgotten the first one. The first one was
on the
utilities.
Yes, utilities.
The utilities one was quite interesting recently. Like electricity corporation cannot load credit. So how are they running the company then? I don't know if there was money going in. That was what I was getting confused by. Like, if you're not selling your stock, I don't know what you're running the business on. But so it's pathetic to mention, because let's assume that somebody is logged in from, let's say, Japan. And then I start to say that you need electricity meters to work. It feels as if Ghana is not yet a country then, because it is so obvious that for you to load credit, you need a meter. So unfortunately, that's the answer, Engineer Robert, that we need to get our meters to work, and then we get payment systems to work. And the app is here on my phone, but it shows me zero balance. Yesterday, I called the facilities manager where I live. He said my balance from ECG is 162,000. I said, Lord have mercy. But it's confused. All the numbers are everywhere. If I owed 162,000, I don't know where I would be by now. So unfortunately, it's the basics concerning that. Concerning Galamsey, like I said, you need a parallel economy. You need to do an economy so that we get away from this poverty thing. I was in Kwabi Brem district during the elections, and the guys were very angry about the Operation Vanguard and all these things that were going on. And they said that the economy has stopped because illegal mining is suffering a clampdown and all that. But what I mean is, look, what have we achieved so far? I remember one guy came to me, he said he wanted vehicle tracking back in the days when I was in that space. And I said, okay, it's very simple. I'll send a salesman to install the trackers on your cars. And he said, no, it will not work. And I said, so where are the cars? He said, shut up. He's going to track Galamsey bulldozers. That's why he couldn't take the trackers. But what he doesn't realize is the network is not in the forest. You can't track bulldozers with them. So I think we need an economy so that we can migrate people from what they are doing into an economy, and then they can do more serious things. Because this mining thing is not scalable. I heard recently that in addition to mining oil and gold, we wanted to add marijuana. I mean, we can go on and on, but as far as I'm concerned, you need a digital economy, and you need renewable energy, and you need some of these things. Recently, a few friends of mine, we came together, we said we wanted to do cashew. So we looked at the volumes. We saw, you go to the Tahiru Pro is somewhere near Kintampo there. And it's, you are going to get 5 cedis per kilo for the cashew. But I called Auntie Adiza at Nima, and she gave me 100 cedis per kilo. So I said, now, Adiza, what is this you are doing? And she said, it's from Dubai. So I called the agronomist neighbor that I have from Colombia, and I said, what is going on in this country? And he said, well, if you will take me to your farm, I will solve the irrigation and the fertilizer and so on, and your cashew will taste like that Dubai one that the people are patronizing. But we would rather want to, buy a graphic front page and say patronize made in Ghana, and the child is eating the Dubai one. So grow it for him. Like, what is this whole thing that we always want to say? The heritage is better than the present, and then you end up, grow it in the local environment, give it all the local nourishment and all that. And it's going to be more healthy than what they are sitting there importing from some other place. So innovation, we cannot run away from. And I think Galamsey and utilities and that space is affected by that. The Richard guy didn't come back, right? Oh, that's Richard? Oh, okay. Yeah, apologies.
We have someone online who will say a few things. David, you can go on.
Okay, please, good evening. Please, I wanted to ask how can we influence or use IoT, that's the Internet of Things, agriculture?
David,
Hello.
please. Your first
Okay.
name.
Okay, please, I wanted to ask how can we use Internet of Things, that's the IoT, in agriculture?
In agriculture, IoT in agriculture.
Like, how can we influence it? Like, how can we use it in agriculture, or like?
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think I spoke about this actually, because that's how you track fertilizer and your inputs and your farm vehicles, and it's all part of IoT technology. But I mean, as I said, when I spoke to the auditor, somebody asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, where's Ghana in ICT? And I said, it depends on who's on 10. Because if it's Finland, then Ghana is 0. But if it's Rwanda, maybe we are 4 or 5. So it always depends on who's on 10. And the things I'm talking about, I said, sometimes I'm ashamed to talk about these things, because in 1996, when I did my thesis in the University of Brussels, I wrote on flexible manufacturing systems. And at the time I went to the southern Belgium, Charleroi factory of Caterpillar, it was unmanned. They were doing numerically controlled machines, programmable logic and all that. I've not seen those factories yet here. It's 26 years later. And I went to a seminar with my professor, and they spoke about materials requirements planning. He stormed out. He said, I did not come here today to listen to 1975 technology. But recently I visited a factory, and they were very proud to show me that they have implemented MRP. So we are 50 years late. And that is if we have arrived at all. And so this thing is, agriculture and the usage of IoT is very basic. You need to track the farm inputs. You need to track the machinery, and you need to actually also do a few things with weather control and so on and so forth. Like it needs to be a bit more sophisticated. The drones need to be involved, and so that we can get a few things moving. But that was not a question, but I've answered it. I'm saying that you can apply it. But the second answer that I've added is that we are not applying it, and we are not making progress in any area at all.
I guess
there are not too many here. So, listening to you, my question then is, looking at what we are doing at our universities, what is the gap between what we are doing and what we need to do to get to where you are proposing?
This is a question I'm glad has come up, because despite what people say, I'm a very proud alumnus of University of Science and Technology. I think that the things they taught us in engineering, those differential equations were very important. The numerical analysis and those, the thing in computing is called computational theory. So sometimes you don't ask yourself what you are computing, you just compute. Because when you come and they say do mobile money and these things, you have to simulate things that you've never imagined. Because you know how many frauds we were picking up in Asimbosu every day, and you have to figure it out before the process figure it out, because at the same time that I did a system that validated every registration of mobile money to National Health Insurance, to DVLA, and so on and so forth, at that same time, the process realized that if 001 goes through, most likely 002 is genuine. So we had to then immediately redesign the system to say, if 001 comes, 002 comes, 003 comes, just stop. Because if that guy gets through, he's going to register 1,000 cards immediately. So it is something that I think the training we had, I pay tribute to my friend TK Donko. He faced a risk situation in his work in Europe, and he said, I'll fix these guys out. So in his next presentation, he moved away from the PowerPoint. And then he gave them a verbatim summary of 18 countries and the markets. When he finished, Tom Demand, president of Africa, he said, this guy is going to be the next great thing in Africa. because he was not looking at anything. So when people say learning by roads, whatever, make it work for you. That's all I say. There's nothing wrong with the educational system that I follow. And unfortunately, it's not a word, but my kids are in the international school system. Right. So I'm not able to make a quick assessment of the Ghana Education Service situation as it is today. But my point is make it work for you. You have also learned something that nobody learned. If even it is vernacular, whatever it is, make it work for you. Because the curriculum, when we met at Abokobi, I saw one of the MTN engineers talking to Macadon, who's provost of engineering. And he was saying the same thing. Why don't we revise the curriculum? And I called the guy. I said, you do your work well. I work with you at the telecom company. You sleep in meetings. And you are here advising the provost of engineering on revising the curriculum. What do you know that you're revising curriculum? So my point is that we've become very arrogant about what we do in industry, which is nothing. I've worked for 16 organizations. I've worked, when I was in KPMG, I worked for 14 consultants in 15 months. So 14 clients in 15 months. So at least I've seen the span of the universe. I looked at the enterprise base of MTN when I was there. It was about 4,000 clients. So at least I've gone to meetings at many of these mining companies and so on. I have a fair read of what is going on here. And I compare it to what I did in Europe. And I think that we have bashed ourselves unnecessarily. Today, what we need to do is to connect the dots. The era when we said political science was not necessary is past. My own daughter does political science, and I've told her that the future of the universe is connecting people like her to people like myself in the past, and making sure that this conversation is a big one, so that we are talking about giant ecosystems, not just. So anyway, I mean, Michael, I think I have great respect for what we study, and the delta between 1993 when I left and today is what I cannot comment on too well. But when I see people like Kwabena Bichum there, I see people like Macadon there and so on, I don't think that it's going to drop to a level, way below a par. You get what I mean? But when you come out, you are still going to feel the same thing that a kid feels anywhere in the world. You're going to feel that the things that are going on at Tesla and so on are above your league. But then, the principles will apply. I think the same principles of theory will apply. So, contrary to a lot of the popular conversations, I don't rubbish our educational system. Ready now?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, it has always made sense to scale the software sector in terms of innovation. But when it comes to hardware, with how far manufacturing is from us and the technical gap, because most of the people I've met so far studied electrical and electronics engineering, and we can't see very confidently about electronics or developing the hardware sector. So how do we ask this about bringing our ideas to market or bringing stuff like that? How do we scale that side?
Okay, so hardware is not complicated. The thing we call software is the same configuration that we blow into hardware. So it's not complicated. And, I spoke about the need to marry the sectors of the economy. When you go to the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, the head of the Smartphones Association, Michael Frimpong, is a hardware manufacturer. He manufactures smartphones called MPulse. And you know how I found him? I was reviewing the numbers. At MTN, I had only 3 reports. I'd worked at the analytics to the point where it was very sharp. So I only looked at number of smartphones activated, with brands, which locations, airtime sold, denominations, locations, mobile money. Stopped looking at SIM cards a long time ago. So those 3 reports, I never missed anything in them. The smartphone one, I suddenly saw that MPulse had come to the top, that come within the first 15 or so that I was looking at. And I said, I'll give a challenge to salespeople. God rest the soul of Ebenezer Ini, but he died a few months ago. He found MPulse. And when he brought MPulse to me, I saw that he was a smartphone manufacturer. And I took him to, so MTN, they asked me to come and buy some computers, some smartphones from China Mobile. And I said, I'm not coming. I'm going to buy from Emos. I'm going to partner with Emos. He will come to China Mobile and buy what you need. And these were very important smartphones, the KaiOS phone. That's the same phone in the Reliance Jio case study of India, the 4G disruption of, you know, the Airtel and so on in India. So this at that point, MTN became a storm, you know, and the group chief commercial officer called me and he said, you have to come to Johannesburg immediately because you are creating some ripples that people are going to lose their jobs. And I said, I'll be there. So I got there and I stood in front of the group chief executive. My battery was on 10%, I remember. And I wanted them to hurry up, but it was the group expo. So the guy was asking me, are you serious? I'm trying to speed up the group expo. I said, I have only 10%. So the conversation started and I said, if you know a better way than to partner with the Ghana Union of Traders, tell me. But as we speak, the man is in China. The 2000 milliampere battery that you wanted, he's changed it to 2500. The memory you asked about, he's changed it. He's renegotiated all the prices. And he says we should land it in, we should bring it through Hong Kong. He doesn't want it through Ganju. So at that point, the group chief executive put up his hand in his own meeting. And he said, what Mr. Nsako speaks about is my declaration of the model for the whole MTN group. This is the asset-light model. It is in use up till today. So I'm saying that we don't have an irrelevant market. As Dr. Obin, as head of GUTA, he told that the traders themselves are the manufacturers. That is why he speaks on a platform and AGI steps back. Because Frimpong is a manufacturer. Many of the people there are manufacturing. From the unions of GUTA stretch from spare parts to haberdashery to timber to mokola to everything. And many of them have started manufacturing in their areas. So likewise, in the same manner, for hardware, to make a computer is nothing. You get it? Like, I mean, right down to making chips is nothing. I saw a Japanese guy once and I said, hey, the way the Moore's law is going, how far are we going to get? What more can we pack into the chip? And he said, look at it as taking a picture. Because you are laying photos on top of photos in a very small. But today I know that Kwame Dubois and some of those Stanford professors and so on are looking at the fact that we have indeed breached Moore's law finally. So miniaturization is getting more difficult now. But look at how far we've come with miniaturization before it's getting difficult. So that's the point I'm making, that hardware is also part of software. You know, in the telecom network, you know, I was CIO of Tigo, I was CIO of Airtel. We stabilized those networks. Later on, the companies collapsed. But how did they collapse? Because when IT is stable, they ask you to go and report to networks. But the network is software. The only reason that people believe that IT must go and report to networks is because the budget is big. But what does it take to do fiber from Medina to, you know, Techima? Nothing. It's digging. Once you dig, you can blow the clouds. So the point is that sometimes we get it a bit warped in our ecosystem. But, you know, I can only end by saying what Einstein said to Newton. He said, I don't blame you that you said light are particles, because your whole mind is mechanics. So until you can think in terms of waves, you forever try to explain everything in terms of particles. They didn't live at the same time, but he was talking to him, you know, posthumously. So I think that's the whole thing. We need to free our mind to look at the digital technology, and hardware will be addressed by the same conversations that address software.
Thank you very much. We'll just take one last question online. Maybe one last question from the audience. So Duke will speak.
Good evening, sir. My name is Duke.
Yes.
I'm calling
Yes.
from speaking from Sunyani.
Yes.
Okay. My question was that how can we now, because data is very expensive as compared with other countries, so how can we try and bring the data down, the prices, so that it will enthuse us to use it in terms of our everyday things that we do, so that we can use it for development and other things. Because sometimes you want to design something, you want to go online, and mostly you study from there and other things. But then the data price is very high and sometimes it's not all that stable. So what can we do about it? Thank you.
I don't know if you got him.
I got it clearly. And I'm reflecting on the question. The simplest ones are the most difficult. Because, you know, I think everything we are saying is summarized in his question. The economies that we must build must lift us to the point where we can purchase the data. That's the first part of it. But the second part of it is that the prioritization of government programs must change. You know, today, I think if you look at the 10 priority programs that the Honorable Minister of Trade listed not too long ago, it included salt, textiles, whatever it did not include anything digital. But I recall salt and textiles. Now, you need to give these youngsters access to the data. You need them to be on the internet and create businesses on the internet. And I think that it is not wrong to spend public money on that. You know, you need to put Wi-Fi everywhere. You know, Radio Planners never forgave me for the day that I told them to go and put Wi-Fi on Tiptoe Lane. But when it was done, it didn't work for more than 4 hours anyway. But up till today, people see me and they say, look, that thing you did to us, we can't forgive you. Because, see, the problem is they are used to where they have a structured mast. You put an antenna, you put this, you put... But when you have to talk to a kiosk owner to say, I want to put a small access point on your kiosk, it's not second nature to them. And we underestimate these things. It speaks to the issue of diversity in our training ecosystem. Today, you see that the cluster there that has a few females are very young. A lot of the time, I just, you know, I did not been for the immediate engineer Bushri. So on that list, on the wall of fame, you don't see many women. And so I had a lady called, may she forgive me, but the name is not coming immediately, but she was in Doreen. So Doreen is in Abokobi. And I called her to my office and I said, I've heard that you are one of the account developers who walks on the ground. You don't have a car. But I hear you are very content and very motivated. And she said, yes, because I'm female. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, look, when I come in the morning, the women are feeding their babies. And that's when I come. And somebody has twins, I hold one and she feeds one. Some of them are bathing, and I go and I help them to get more water when they are. She says, so by the time those boys come and they are playing music and dancing with the women, I've collected all the money and given the women all the stocks. So this dancing is not achieving anything. And the boys were there, and she said to them, is it not true that I have more money than all of you? And they said, yes, boss. So I realized that Doreen is ruling, right? I don't want to embarrass Pamela anymore. I've embarrassed her enough today. But like the things she can do, a man cannot do. Because the market is granular. You know, one day I was walking through Mokola at 7 a.m. You know what I saw? A preacher by the street. He connected his loudspeaker and did what he used to do. You know, but the waves that passed, because all the people picked up the song. And, you know, nobody knew who had started it, but Mokola was alive. You see, and these days you have to see to know that this is the vision of the future for Africa. We also have something special. But the men don't get it. The men don't promote the women. So when Doreen came to my office, I immediately promoted 2 women to the field, gave them cars, and I said, leave the shop and go and drive. Make things happen in the field. Those women, they make big sales targets today. I promoted 2 senior managers immediately. And those people, when they call me today, they are changing the world. And some of the people in the group of MTN, Cabello, in Genya, I think she's called, from South Africa. So these were people who were sitting in the office of the group chief executive, and they were moving things. Because certain things come naturally to a woman. And unfortunately, we don't have that diversity in our space. So the conversation that we are trying to make about data and so on is not shaped into policy. Because I don't know, I mean, maybe, he's a politician. Maybe he has the answer to how many women are in the parliament and in the cabinet and so on and so forth. But it's a shame that we've not been able to tap that vital resource. I don't want to embarrass anybody, like I said, but when I was brought from Holland, I was taken straight to the castle on the DFID project. You know who controlled that project? Mary Jane Essen, chief advisor to the president. Whenever she saw the ministers, she would say, my friend minister, come. I haven't seen you for so long. You're looking so good. If I sit down. And the person sits. Says, your projects are not going well, you understand? And the person listens. But sometimes he herself will say, this matter is so complicated that you need to do it. And then she'll dismiss you from a presence. But I spoke to Auntie Mary last week, and she just laughed the whole time that I'm glad you appreciate everything I did for you. Because she trained us, you understand it. And at that time, she said to me, the implementation system that you built, it's not that Kufuor does not like it. I've briefed him and he likes it. But you're a small boy. You cannot go and stand in front of the president, changing your Excel colors and so on and so forth. Stay back. And then at this stage, myself and Elizabeth Ohene will take it forward. And we'll brief them out, and then we'll implement it. So she brought us the ministers, Boniface Siddiq and so on. That's why I salute Boniface Siddiq's name. I've never met him, but after that meeting, I saw that this guy, when we was talking about the East-West water connection, he was asking the right questions. When they took him to Wexenhausen, you saw, immediately he said, hey, what happened to those small contractors? Come, why did you pay them? Those kinds of things. I mean, maybe he's retired, maybe, politics played him out. I don't know what happened, but those conversations are necessary to solve this man's issue so that we move the whole agenda forward. So the two things I think are that the government must support and that the ecosystem must be built quickly so that he can get that economic liberation. I spoke with a lot of glory about Wi-Fi in Menchia and so on, but during that project, as for my friend Abdul Nasser, I can mention his name anywhere. He likes being embarrassed. But Abdul called me and he said, look, I'm not happy at Menchia right now. I said, why? He said, somebody has arrived. He said, he does the cabling for this palace. And I have my cabling I want to use. The guy says he does the cabling. And I said, Abdul, take the afternoon off. He said, are you not going to intervene in them? I said, go and sleep. So I called the salesman and I said, now go to Menchia and go and solve the issue. So he came and you know what he told me? He said, that guy had a fixed amount in mind to be paid for the cabling. So as soon as he told me, I started to negotiate with him and I paid him only 2% of what he wanted. I said, you're a good man. So Abdul can continue in the morning. So basically you need to weave. But the salesperson who went, his boss was female. She sent him to go and solve the issue. So diversity is very important to solve these things. I think we have a certain single track mindset that we are following. And I'm telling you the truth, alpha male conflict causes wars. Nobody can solve it. Today, if you put Putin and Zelensky in a room, they will fight till somebody dies. But there are women who come in and they say, what did Yasantua do? 1821, when McCarthy entered Kumasi, they cut off his head. They drank from his skull. And then 100 years of war. It got to a certain point where it was Santihinis who were asking now that let's stop because we've fought for too long. Too many generations are tired. But at that point, she was able to lead a dialogue in conflict. That led to a situation when you get a captor and you say to the captor, I will not kill you because what you have is too important to kill. Somebody told me, that's the last thing I'll say, one of our brothers from Katanga, he told me on what happened on the morning of 4th June, and I said, God have mercy. Soldiers came to his house, and his father was supposed to be taken out. But when his grandmother saw what was happening, she stood in front of the door. She said, if you want to kill my son, shoot me. And the military that were standing there, they started to turn around and point their guns at each other because the woman was too powerful to look at and kill her. That was when the brigadier came out. And then the same people who had come to kill him, when they saw him, they saluted. And they said, boss, now we want to offer you protection. We came here to kill you, but we want to offer you protection from anybody else who will come. So I'm just saying that these things, it is an almost spiritual level of diversity in the world. And you have to understand it. I know that when the young people hear spirit, they think we are talking about Agrada and so on. It's not about that. These are pure Holy Spirits, not the jokes that we are seeing around us. But I think it's important. I've spent more time than you budgeted for, but this issue I feel like, the guy needs help. I've told him that he's going to go back and buy a very expensive data bundle for himself. Of course, this thing is there and all this, so, it shall be well. It shall be well.
Thank you. Thank you
The
very
group
much.
that came in, are they together? You are all together, right? You start here. Start at the Ghana Institution of Engineering. From where? From your office? Oh, okay. So you understand everything about power? Okay.
Hello. Right. I think the evening has been well spent, and before we say our final thank yous, as I said, we would have to introduce some of the important personnel who joined us this evening. We have with us this evening our past president, engineer, Dr. Kwame Boakye. He's also the chairman of the Engineering Council, the board of the Engineering Council, leading the Frontiers for Engineering Growth in Ghana. So we support him so much and pray that he does very well for us. We are looking forward to so much. And then we have our immediate past president, Engineer Ayen. We also have with us the vice president of the institution, the person of Engineer Michael Dodo. And thank you all so much for coming back. The thanks go to Mr. Engineer Eric Insako. I believe that we've had a very good time with him this evening, and he's inspired us so much, sharing his personal experiences and giving us thoughts to go out to be more innovative and to help in the digital growth of our nation. Thank you so much, Engineer Insako. And we definitely look forward to having more times like this with you. And for all those who were online, I think we reached about 90 people online. We hope that next time when we have a session, you will come and then fill this auditorium. Next time, we will make it only an in-person thing so that you come and join us here. Thank you so much for coming, all of you, and good evening. Hope that you have a safe trip back home. We thank God for the time. For all those who came with Engineer Insako, you've had an experience of engineering. We are, no, it's not a fight. We are actually precisely the things we do. So thank you very much for coming to join us. Then have some refreshments on your way out. So we pray that the Lord will take us all home safe.